Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 61 of This Valorant Life. On this episode, we're going to talk about a problem that is near and dear to my heart, which is what do you do when your games are not going well? You've warmed up, you've got a game plan, you're playing your preferred agent, and then you are 0-5 and your team is asking to FF. And you don't want to FF at 0-5 because that's going to be a lot of lost RR. What do you do to salvage this? We're not going to be able to win every game, but I know for me, when I'm in that type of situation, I feel like I want to do something, but I'm not sure what the levers are. I'm not sure to how even look at how the first 5 rounds went and what I can use to diagnose and then what I can try and do. And so that's what I wanted to have this conversation about. So Adam, what comes to mind for you as we start to talk about this?
I think the easiest thing to look at is like, how quickly did you lose these rounds? Like, did you lose the round in like 20 seconds? Because if that's the problem, the solution is very easy, typically, because it just follows the 80-20 framework. So for example, if we lose the round on attack and in 20 seconds or so, that probably means you rushed and you just insta-died, typically, unless you got ran down, but like typically you're rushing, you insta-die. So the fix to that is to go and play the 20%. Go lurk, go do your own thing, kind of incentivize your team to slow down and just like, spread out the time. So that would be the fix for attack if that was the case.
So that's an interesting thing, right? So like if you're an Omen or a Viper, you're like, okay, already lurk time, right?
Right.
But if I'm playing Fade or you're playing Jet and you're like, okay, like this just execute isn't working. Like how do you balance going against the nature of your agent to go do some other stuff because it's not working versus at least, the thing in my head, the dogma is like getting yelled at as an initiator because I'm not with my team.
I guess the way that I like to communicate it, because I typically communicate anything I like to do in the pre-round that's like different from the team, is I'll just try and tell them that what I'm doing. So like if I'm an initiator, let's take bind for example. My teammates keep rushing B and we're losing. I'm gonna go take showers control this round, and then implying that they should slow down. I mean, if I'm like want to be outright and be like, let's play a slow round in default, I'm gonna go take showers. You could do that. I typically just like, I'm at the level of players where they typically just understand that if the initiator is not there, don't do it. But games where I'm playing like duelist, and I'm just not going with the team, that's kind of where I have to like, I guess, verbally calm and be very clear. Like, I don't want to rush this round. I'm going to go take showers control or whatever and like kind of do my own thing slower. So if you can get your teammates, I wouldn't use the word default because a lot of people just say, let's just default. And honestly, it kind of triggers me when people just say, let's default. So the goal in this case is to take showers control.
And play slower.
And I think and play slower. Yeah. And I think that's clearer than just loosely saying, let's play default.
And so what I'm hearing there is that like one of the first things you look at is just what is the pace of these first few rounds?
Yes.
And what do we want to do to just change it up, right? Because even as you respond to this, it's not some type of 4D chess thing where like you've analyzed the previous 5 rounds and now you know exactly what to do. Part of it is just trying something different.
And I think a lot of Valorant is like giving yourself more chances. So if you play super fast, you don't have many chances on attack, at least. Whereas like when the rounds are a little bit slower, you can kind of like find more nuanced timings or like just play out the round. Like maybe you get another cycle of utility if you have rechargeables. So yeah, it's just you actually are able to level the playing field, especially if your comp is like worse at these site rushes compared to them. Like if they have heavy stall util, you kind of just have to level the playing field a little bit.
Since we're kind of already on that attack side, is there a difference between how you look at things between attack and defense?
100%. Yeah. Okay. If I'm on defense and we're having the same problem of like the round is ending in 20 seconds, the instinct there is to play faster. And what I mean by that is, as a defender, you can't force them to slow down. Well, you could try, but there's 2 things you could do. One is you could play and spawn and fast rotate. This is just the 80% we talk about all the time, and this is for you trying to flood onto the site. So if they're playing super quick, they're probably not faking. So you might as well just run in and play for the site hold and avoid playing retake simulator. Now, the other way to do this is to gamble on the site that they're going to hit and hope that you're right and then play for the site hold. I normally don't do that because obviously it's a gamble, so I'd rather cut my losses and play for fast rotate. So the reason why I say it's different than attack though is because attack you slow it down, but you can't normally force a slowdown on defense unless you're able to communicate to your teammates to contest both sites and actually slow them down with util. So like on Ascent, you can get your teammate to one-way A main and then fight it, and then you can also get your teammate to aggro fight B main with a killjoy turret and insta molly, and that immediately, it's impossible for them to get early B main and A main control without being delayed against that.
So let's say you're on attack and it hasn't been a pace issue. What are the other levers that you're looking at? Are you looking at agent comp? Like, how does maps play into this? What are the other levers that you're looking to change how you're playing in that match?
I think one of the bigger ones is just like, do you feel like you're getting like utiled heavily, which probably means you haven't done a good job of baiting util out. So a lot of people like meme Valorant a lot for being like a util simulator game, which it does feel like that a lot of the time. But the meta right now is in a pretty good spot. Probably one of the better metas we've been in a long time, to where it doesn't feel as util dump heavy. So what I'm trying to say is, if you feel like you're getting util a lot, you probably just need to try and bait out some util. Bait out some smokes is a really big one. Like, you could start early A main on Ascent, for example, and then just bait out the smoke, whatever, and then just reset. So actually resetting is a good one. But yeah, look at util. If you're getting util dump, you probably need to do a better job of baiting util.
Okay. And then what about in the case where, let's say, we feel like we're continually getting stuck in chokes? You know, like you've got your jet there. Like, I think of like Ascent A main all the time. Like, we get smoked off, we take A main, and now we're going to hit site, and then everyone's just kind of like waiting.
Not going.
And then you kind of get everyone knows this feeling. There's this scene in the movie The Rock. Have you seen The Rock?
I have not seen The Rock.
It's such a good movie. You should go watch it. But there's this scene in this Rock, spoiler alert, which is like all of the Marines exit through this tiny little like shower crate, and they go to the top, and they're like, they look like it's, you know, all clear, and they come out, and it is like the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. Like, they just get slaughtered, because it's like, it's basically like a shooting gallery. There's like 20 people shooting down at them as they're exiting like a sewer grate, right? And I feel like oftentimes in ranked, you know, that's happening. You know, you've stalled, you've made a ton of noise, and now you're just waiting outside A main, and you know there's like 4 guys on site, and you're like, okay, the best thing here not to go would be to not go. And then you're like, okay, let's go. And it's just like, we'll just do it anyways, right? And we'll just hope for the best, and then you get mowed down. So like, what do you do in those cases with the team that feels a little stuck?
That's kind of where I intentionally make the decision to just separate from the team as much as possible. I'll do this even on duelist games. So like, Ascent is like really the one that really comes to mind. But if I see all of my teammates go towards a main side, I will actively choose to be on the B side. So I'm not going top mid, I'm going tiles or B main. And then if they're going B main side, then I'll go top mid or A main. Because especially if I'm the duelist, they probably won't like enter the site without me anyways. And while they're doing whatever they're doing over there, making pressure, I can try and take a 1v1 duel somewhere else and hopefully win it. Now, this is obviously lurking, but I guess the short answer is just to go lurk, but it doesn't have to be a lurk. Like, if you're playing an initiator and your teammates are all going A main, you can go B main and use util there and destroy sentinel util or whatever. But you just don't want to be on the same side of the map as your teammates, so you actually have something else to fall back on.
What does that give you, not being in a pack with your teammates?
You just get more map control. Like, you have another option. You have a fallback option. Some people call it contingency.
Going deeper from there, like, what does map control give you?
I see. You essentially are able to find more timings to, I guess, find an opening. So like, if your teammates in this example are making pressure A main, that is going to pull rotates away from mid and B typically to A, so that you can now more likely find a 1v1 on somewhere else and not get traded.
And that's something where if you're not there, let's say you pull rotates, everyone's on A main or around A, and then there are defenders rotating off B. We're talking about Ascent here. You get to sometimes catch a guy just knife out, right? Just rotating through spawn, you get a free kill, and you get to reset and they're panicking, right? So, but if you're not there, his rotate, his gamble, that knife out running to spawn is free. But because you're there, you either get him there or sometimes you get them like walking and pushing out, not expecting anyone to be there.
Right. It's definitely more so to keep the enemy team honest, because in a hypothetical world, if you're able to keep the enemy defenders honest and not over rotate, you would actually just want to rush A every single round, even if you do get stalled, because they're being honest and not rotating. So you're going to hit a site with 2 or 3 players max instead of the sometimes 4 or even 5 when everyone just over rotates.
So I think the important part here is like, it's that philosophy question of, you know, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's there, does anyone hear it? Right. And it's kind of like, well, if someone plays loose or like not straight up, but there's no punish, it's almost like, you know, you can't keep them honest, right? So the only way you keep them honest is if there is a punish when they sell out.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's a confusing concept for a lot of people that learn to play Valorant like textbook. I was reviewing Xander VODs yesterday, and he is a very textbook player on defense. Yes. What I mean by that,
like he hard anchors, like especially on like an Omen, he will play like his position on the map.
Exactly. And it was getting to the point where I was yawning because he was just sitting there staring at the angle for like 40 seconds, even when some enemy positions were found, like Cypher or Clove, like the enemy lurkers typically. So that playstyle does punish when there are lurkers, but typically in ranked, you do want to adhere to the 80-20, fast rotate, not actually play for the lurk, and then in this case, get caught by the lurk.
Yeah.
So if you're on attack, you counter that by lurking.
Yeah. When things aren't working.
Yes.
What about weapons wise? You know, like sometimes you're like not feeling that you are winning straight up. You know, just all the gun rounds, you're getting demolished. How would you play that differently? Like, is it time to buy an op, or is it time to be like super weird with shotguns and stingers?
Yeah, it depends on the half, but I think number one, attack ops, very good. Number one, it forces your team to slow down. So if you're already having pacing issues, this is a good thing to lean into.
And would you say attack ops is a reasonable option on any agent?
It is reasonable on any agent. I know it's most common on like jets and chambers and things like that, but I definitely think you can just, you know, take it out on anyone, because the goal of the attack op is to punish the enemy team over peaking. Right, so if you're playing Haven, this is a really good map to attack op, in my opinion. You could post on A short, they peek it, they die. You could peek A long, and then that's a really nice line for you. You could hold garage peek. So attack op is really good to punish over aggression. So I guess that's another thing too, is if you're just getting over aggressed on, buy an attack op and just hold them. If you need to work like really long lanes, you can do that on Abyss. It's very common to buy attack op on Abyss. And you just like,
because you're just holding mid.
You're just holding mid. Like you can just wait. Eventually someone's gonna peek you or use util because they need to get info, right? Yeah. So you can kind of punish that. So that's number one. Number two is like the shotgun stuff. If you're on attack, you can really only do it if you're playing like someone with movement abilities. Okay. Like Omen or Jet or Raze. It works quite well. Or Waylay. Waylay's really good right now. But if you're on defense, you can use it on anybody. I will buy the Bucky over the Sheriff like, I would say like 8 out of 10 times and on defense. And I'll just like find a random corner. Maybe I'll like play like a 90-degree angle, like Ascent A main, instead of playing close to switch and looking for the run out. I'll like go forward and actually hold the choke, but look straight into A main, because you can one tap with the Bucky there. And you can kind of catch some people off guard. So I definitely heavily condone using shotguns, using stingers, using ops and things like that, outlaws. We are seeing it more and more out of the players in the top 10 on the leaderboard. I see them buy a ton of outlaws,
What is the use case for the outlaw? Like obviously, other than, you know, round 2, you won pistol. Like when else are you buying it specifically?
If their money is bad, so obviously keep track of their money every single round. But like if they're in the 3000s, they're likely going to buy light armor Vandal or light armor Phantom.
Yeah.
And
yeah, when you're 3400 to 3800. they're all gonna buy light armor and vandal.
Yep, and then it's just a free round with the outlaw. Buy it on attack. It's so good. You just punish people. You can quick scope with it. It's so quick too. You have 2 chances, so it's honestly super viable on attack. We're seeing a lot of people abuse it in ranked, at least the ones at the top of the leaderboard. So definitely a good buy.
You know what this reminds me of? Like, some people are not great with directions, and I remember someone close to me, who I will not name, is not very good with directions. And I told that person one time, they kept not being able to get to where they wanted to go. And so eventually I was like, whenever you think you need to do something, just do the opposite. They called me, they're like, I made it because I didn't trust my instincts. And I feel like there's an element here of like, if nothing's working, it's just like, you can do something different. You can not be with your team. If it's playing fast, you play slow, grab a different weapon, try different things out. Like, you might as well make, like, rather than just being like, okay, eco, I buy sheriff, and buy round, I'm going to buy a phantom or a vandal, right? Here it's like, okay, maybe I can save up and get the op. What about an Odin? When does an Odin make sense to mix it up? Like, I feel like it makes more sense probably on defense, but does it ever make sense on attack?
It does, but the Odin is such a unique weapon. Obviously with champs going on right now, have you seen the matches?
Not really, but I know Brock is kind of like a demon with the Odin, a menace even.
Yeah, he's the highest stats player on NRG right now.
Is he?
And he's
I
like
mean,
the
good
Odin
for him,
legend.
man. Like, it feels good for him and Mata to have that like tier 2 glow up. I mean, they deserve the spots.
Yeah, but he attack Odins occasionally. I think that's, to me, way more map dependent. I'm not good with the gun, so I can't really think about times where I would buy the Odin, to be honest. But kind of from what I can imagine is, if you are able to get the bomb down on attack, but you're losing post plants, that could be a good time for you to use the Odin, because you can kind of post up on an angle similar to an op. You kind of just like hold mouse 1 down. It's very good for anti-flood. So like, a lot of Sovas, not a lot, but a good thing for Sovas to do on Abyss, B site, follow me for a second. Instead of going lower, you go window, and then you drone out a window, you get your team, you shock out the trips, you dart onto site, whatever. But then that B main smoke comes in, and they start running out of heaven. If you stay in window, you can see over the smoke and then hold the heaven anti-flood line. Some people, Sovas, will sit there with an Odin and stare at the heaven smoke, and you will typically outgun rifles there because
they've got a W peak it, or it's like a really awkward AD peak, right? Like,
it's very awkward. Yeah, and the problem with doing it with rifles and scoped weapons, specifically with scoped weapons, you only have 1 shot, right? Typically, so you have to hit it. But if you do it with rifles, if you miss, you kind of give them a chance to shoot back. But with the Odin, if you miss, you just move your little mouse. They aren't moving super quickly because they're so far away. It's very easy to recorrect. So it's you can even do it with an Ares, honestly. I've died to it a couple of times. I've tried it a couple of times. Very cheese, but that's the scenario I can think of right now to buy an attack Odin or an Ares or something.
A win's a win.
Yeah, a win's a win. You know, you gotta take it.
Yesterday I was playing Abyss, and I was on attack, and there was defusing the bomb like on the ledge. It was on B, but it was like close to the edge, and so I had one guy that was behind pillar, and he got killed. But I pinged I was playing Fade, so I pinged the guy on the spike, and so he was looking back into T spawn, or kind of where the window is, and I was behind him, coming around the other side that's closer to CT spawn, right? And so he pinged him, and he was looking the wrong way, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna knife this guy. And I walked up, and he turned and shot me in the face, and then everyone's like, what the hell? And then they're like, was it worth it? And I was like, no, but it was almost worth it.
That's funny.
I was like, we won the game. It was all good.
Yeah. Sometimes I do think that knife kills in Valorant should give you more of an incentive, like maybe an extra ult orb or maybe a bit more money. Since CS, I think you get a lot.
It should give you something.
Yeah.
Or it should at least somehow fill the person you killed with shame, in the game somehow.
Yeah, somehow.
Okay, so that's kind of attack. What changes in terms of levers on defense?
So this one is, again, kind of pacing we talked about, but I really like what you said about like do the opposite. So like if you're playing close on the choke points every round, do the opposite, play fast rotate. If you're playing on the fast rotate every single round, pick a site and then contest early space. That is typically going to work super well in terms of adapting. If you're playing on site and they're hitting your site, but you're playing close and getting destroyed, go back site and dodge all the util. If you're playing backside on the site hold, but you're still losing, maybe play closer to the choke point. I do think that framework is actually pretty good. And honestly, it covers a lot of things. That's very simple too.
I think the other thing that comes to mind for me is like sometimes when you're getting run over on defense, it's 0-5, let's say. The thing your teammates will say that is, I think, trying to be helpful and also not helpful at all is just don't peek. Just play safe, right? It's like,
right.
Well, why don't we just sit and spawn, let them take site and then we'll just 5-man retake every game. Like it doesn't, like, yes, I understand you don't want to over peak, but like to also not do anything is also its own death sentence in the game, right? And so like how do you manage, and I say that because the moment people say that, I feel like it's time to be like, okay, let's just try to do something coordinated on defense that's a little aggressive. Like let's try to throw out a few pieces of util and like try to take some space and just make them and see if we can catch them.
Yeah, the correct way to play defense, in my opinion, is to take one piece of the map, and either that piece of the map is the piece of the map that they also want to take, or if you don't have the util for it, let's just use Lotus for this example. If you're able to win the A fight for rubble space, a rubble, then go and fight that, right? Because then you're trading util, but you've gained the space and denied it from them. That's ideal scenario. If your comp on the A fight is worse, then take the C space or the B space, ideally the C space because it's the extremity, so you deny the lurk, and give them the A space. That way you aren't sitting and doing nothing, because what you're explaining here is that sit back and don't peek. Now they have A space and C space and B space theoretically, and you have no info. And if they throw a fake, you're going to bite. If they group up and hit a site and contact pop, you're going to be late to the rotate. So the only scenario that it works for you to sit there and do nothing is if they never group up and they just walk around the map and take ones, in which case it works out for you. And that's probably like a 1% chance that people actually do that. So yeah, hopefully that explains that.
How is it really just working? Like what comes to mind for me is if you want to try to take space, you want to do something a little more aggressive. What does that look like? Is it just working as a duo? Would you just do it by yourself?
That one's unfortunately very map dependent and also very role dependent. I would say that a good rule of thumb is to fight an area of the map as 3. So if they're taking a rubble space and you want to fight it, try and do it with 3 members. If you're playing,
so in that case, you would be, hey, if we're, because I often run into this as a fade, right? If I'm playing with a Raze, sometimes it would just be like me and Raze nading and seizing the T exit or the T choke, right?
Yes.
But in that case, you'd be like, hey, like actually, it'd be good to have 3 people and just one person B, one person C, and they're just gonna play those more passively.
Exactly. 3-1-1 setups. So I don't know if some listeners here have recalled, but I've talked a lot about 4-1ing on attack being kind of like a really good fallback setup, like 4 teammates together, 1 guy lurking. On defense, a really good setup that you can default to. A lot of people like mistakenly do 2-1-2s, but I think some maps really call for 3-1-1s.
Okay.
So Lotus is one because
of
you need 3
A
on
rubble.
the A fight. Yep. Sunset is another one you need 3 on the A fight. Ascent, you can afford 3 members A, and then kind of play like 1-1. That one's probably closer to a 2-1-2. Despite A main being so important, you start with the one way. Bind, I think you can actually get away with 3-1-1. You play 3A, you play 1 hookah, 1 B long, because there's no mid. So 3A works well. In the Kayak VOD, we were talking about Kayak before we started recording. He was playing Bind on Chamber. He was playing solo B, and his teammates were playing 4A because he was able to trip hookah and then fight B long. And then if they went B, his teammates would kind of fast rotate, and then he can kind of play from there. So 3, basically what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're having trouble on defense, just play more members there. Like 3, 4, and then play 1 weak side. Pro teams will fully play a retake on a site. This is actually kind of common to do on Lotus because you're playing 3-1-1. You play the retake C, and retake C is a lot easier than retake A, especially if you have ultimates like Fatal, Raze ult. So just play to give C, maybe deny some pushes, and you can kind of win that way.
So yeah, I think there's an element here which is we're trying to advantage things in our favor rather than trying to play it like almost like fair. Right? Like we're going to try to advantage ourselves somewhere because we would rather have that than just to play straight up everywhere, right? Like the straight up on Lotus would be like a 2-1-2.
Right. And I guess that's a really good point. I think it's very hard to play a balanced defense, like very hard, where you can actually deny the enemy attackers all of the space, right? Like that doesn't happen often. Like sometimes you get lucky because whatever, but if you're playing for Ascent A main, you typically have to give mid and B main, or at least give up mid, right? It's very rare you actually have mid control, A main control, and B main control as a defender. Now that's different in CS because you can throw like cross map smokes, you have early mollies. Like on CS, you actually do own pretty much most of the space because you can throw early util. And now it's attacker's job to kind of like counter that. But on Valorant, you only have 2 smokes. You only have, X amount of agents to do a certain amount. Like your util count is lower. So the way it works in Valorant, at least more commonly, is you fight for something, you give something up. You fight for something, there's strong side, there's weak side. There's strong side, there's weak side. So the attacker's job is to figure out where is strong side and avoid it and then go find weak side. Now, this all kind of gets thrown out of whack. I know I'm kind of rambling, but when the op is in play, you can play weak side op and then strong side elsewhere, and then that's why defense is so strong. So I guess one tip for defense is if you're struggling and you don't know what to do, just buy an op. you can now be alone in air quotes and still have high impact while your teammates are stacked somewhere else. You can still stack with the op. It's probably means you have to play retake, which you probably don't want to do, but even then you could still play a strong side.
I think that's where, things you've told me before, which is let's say you're on bind, right? And the other team is hitting A and you're on defense and 4 of your team members are on A. Well, it's kind of like if they're not going to be able to hold them off, like there's really no point. Like it's not going to change that much for me being there, right? In which case, like it's worthwhile to sell out a little bit and keep them honest and just be there to capture the rotate, right? When they TP because they hit too much pushback. And so that's kind of what I hear there, which is like if you're struggling on defense, buy an op. Lotus comes to mind. Buy an op, go stand C long. And then if your team wants to gamble 3 on A and they can't hold it, well, there's not much you were going to do anyways.
I think the counterpoint that some people would have, and sometimes I do give advice to, is if your instinct was to go A, instead of filling in the gap on C, I do tend to encourage players to go and fight A, even if your setup is wrong. So like, let's just say in theory you wanted to go A with your op or your whatever, and 3 or 4 of your other teammates go there and you're heavy stacked. In that scenario, I think it's better to just, hope they come A, and then if they go C, you're playing retake, because in that case, I think you learn your intuition starts to develop because you committed to a decision. So I guess that would be a little bit pushback on the concept of like playing weak side and letting your teammates fight strong side. I think it is completely okay for you to move yourself over to strong side, even if you're on Sentinel.
In the sense that your ability to impact the game, especially on defense, is your gut around wanting to guess right.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is my theory, okay? And as the famous quote from Anchorman is like, 50% of the time, it works every time. Okay. Which is like, what I find is if you're on defense and the enemy team runs over your site, for whatever reason, more often than not, like I would say this is like 80-20, 80% of the time, they will go, like they want to spread the love around, right? Like if they run you over on A, then they will run you over on C. And then they will run you over on B or A. Like, but they usually don't run you over an A and then keep running you over on A. Like I feel like that happens, but it's much less common. And so I feel like, when you lose pistol and you got run over, it's often advantageous to just go stack the other site, because they will often just, because of gun advantage too, be overconfident and just run it. I don't know. Is that what you find as a pattern, or what do you see as a pattern?
I think that is a true pattern. We call it ABAB, which I played a game with Screwface earlier, not today, but like last week, and he was playing Raze, and he was calling 2 strats. One strat was he's rushing A, bind. He was playing Raze, shotgun. He's going U-Haul with a shotgun. That's his one strat. Second strat is he's going hookah, and he's jumping out of hookah with a shotgun. And we alternated every single round trying to see how many rounds we can get. I think we ended up like the half 11-1 or something.
Okay.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is it makes it seem like you're doing a new strat because you're going to the other site. But defenders are trying to adapt to the last known thing you did rather than thinking about what you're going to do next. But attackers are always trying to, like, in theory, trying to be one step ahead. So yeah, it is very common for it to be A, B, A, B, and it's not even conscious sometimes.
Yes. So I think if, like, that would be my one thing is if you are on defense and you are trying to subscribe to this idea of playing the percentages, then playing fast rotate most of the time makes sense. So you can just be there, right? Unless for whatever reason your agent is particularly powerful holding down a main, right?
Right.
And then the second one is that if you lose a round and you get run over, you can comfortably gamble and just be on the other side. Because yeah, it's like AB. I like to think of it as like people feel like they need to be fair to the bomb sites. Like it's just like not very nice to only go A because then B feels a little bit lonely. And so I feel like this idea of, like, you know, choosing all of the ice cream flavors so they all feel equally loved. That's what comes up for me.
Equally beaten up.
Equally blown up.
Yeah.
Equally contested. What do you think is the least loved bomb site in the game?
Least Haven B site, probably. Most people go A or C. That's the first one that comes to mind, I think.
So in that case, I was kind of thinking like a good ranked pistol strategy on attack is just to go B every time.
Oh yeah, going B.
Like especially if you walk out garage side, like, or you just smoke top B. I feel like there's no one ever would gamble stack 3B.
Well, okay, so here's the pushback.
Okay.
A really good thing to do on Haven is play 3B, not because you think they're going B.
Okay,
but because
you could fast rotate.
You could fast rotate, yeah. But typically it is really good for attackers to end B because the range on your pistols, like those fights are really good. So if you start A and then go back and end B, it's really good. If you start garage split, like fake garage pressure, and then go back into a B, it could be really good. So, and ending B is quite nice on that map. And also typically on pistol round, they don't have the utility or won't invest it to get on top of the boxes. Yeah. So it's quite nice to end B.
Cool. Is there anything else that comes to mind on defense that you would do? I guess we kind of mentioned it already, which was just around the gun selection. And like, if things are not going well, you can just choose to play shotguns and play around smokes. So
good to play around smokes, especially if like they are like disrespecting it and not droning it or whatever. Yeah, I think it's just so good to play to contest a choke point. I think a lot of people make the mistake of like letting the enemy team out of the choke point too easily. In my experience, like most of the time when I play and we're losing heavy defense, is because my site players, because I tend to play fast rotate, so my site players are like too far away, just like they're getting out for free. Like the dart's not getting broken, the drone's not getting broken, the jet dash is kind of making it free, you know. So I think playing close to break the drone or like contest the jet dash and stuff like that is very valuable. So that's typically my instinct. And I find that when I adjust to go and play that bomb site, or I ask them to adjust, it ends up being pretty good. Awesome. So I hope if you listen to this episode, this gives you some ideas around what you can do when the game isn't going the way you would like it to, and that you have some levers and more options in your tools in your tool belt to approach these types of games. So as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. And until next time. Peace out.